I will now, guys, be starting my second course for today, which is how to ask questions. I love questions because when I ask questions, I'm a positive person. You have to understand that only great questions are going to get you there. You have to understand that a question mark is something that you ask in order to succeed only. You never ask how people are doing. You ask, how can I help you? You have to understand, it's really, let's help people more, because those questions are going to get somewhere. You have to understand, when you're always asking, how are you? The person's either going to say good or not good. You understand? I mean, that never helps you. You have to understand, what helps you is something greater. You have to understand that you need to be a person who's asking questions anyway, although a question is something that's really going to help you. You need to realize that those people who are always going to the next person to say, how are you? I realize when you keep doing that, I don't know where it leads you in life. I mean, when you're just asking, how are you in life, what are you going to do? You have to understand, it's really about, how can I succeed today? I mean, let's mind my own business. You have to understand, you mind yours, I mind mine, because that's the way to ask questions. You have to understand, the question mark is something that determines your life. Otherwise, that those people who ask better questions are going to be successful. You need to realize that those people who studied anything in life had to ask questions. You have to understand that it's really about asking questions that's going to help you to succeed. I realize that when somebody says that they're good, I realize it never grows you. You understand? I realize that when you ask somebody, how are you, and they say good, I realize they're never growing you in that moment. You understand? I realize when you ask, how can you help me succeed? Or how can I help you succeed? You have to understand, it's really how can you help others succeed? I realize it's never about you. You have to understand it's about something greater. You have to understand it's never about people. You have to understand it's something better than people. You have to be better than people. You understand? You have to be better than who you are. You have to be better than what you're doing. You have to understand that those people who judge me are the ones who are dying. You have to understand that judgment means no questions. You have to understand that those people who have no questions to ask are the ones who are never growing. You need to understand that no matter what, you guys are just positive, because that way you will say and ask a question. You have to understand those people who ask questions are positive people. I mean, when you're asking more questions, you're learning more. You need to ask the positive ones that are really going to help you to learn more. You need to learn more, because that way you will be a person who's studying, and you'll ask yourself, how do I lose weight? Because that's a growing question. I mean, how do I make sure that I can succeed faster than anybody else? I mean, how can I make sure that I become greater than yesterday? You have to understand, when you ask how-to questions, you will also find them in your life, because no matter what, you then become them. You have to understand, when you become your own questions that are greater, you will be greater. You have to understand, those people who have really more ideas to speak about are the ones who are really doing something foundational, because they're the ones who are positive, and they're the ones who are doing something magnificent in a way that they are making sure they're always repeating language, although they're doing it in a better way, because they're asking better questions that help them grow. I mean, I have to ask better questions to speak better. I have to say, what do I have to stay away from to make sure I can communicate better? Because you would understand that asking questions is going to help you to solve your problems. I mean, you will understand that no matter what happens, that you just be a positive person, because no matter what happens, you be a positive person in a way that you're always encouraging others to live their life in a greater way. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, it's about, let's be together in a way where we can be greater. So we have to ask greater questions. I mean, anything that's greater. I mean, when you're always asking what's on TV, I don't know what's on TV. I don't care about what's on TV in life. I mean, what's on TV is nothing special. You understand? Because those people who ask, what is Tony Robbins doing today? I promise you that person can help you succeed. I promise you that TV will never help you. I promise you, when you ask a question like, how can I become more of a leader? I promise you then, you'll find yourself a leadership book, and then you'll start learning and growing into leadership. I mean, how do I get myself on the street so that I can perform in front of a crowd and public speak? I mean, I have to do that to myself in a way that I'm growing myself, because I never do it to myself, I do it for something greater only. I realize when I involve something greater, I can be here, because I have a bigger purpose. That's why you guys can hear me. You understand? I've got a bigger purpose to inspire people. And that's why I get the attention. I get the attention because I ask for it. I ask questions. I mean, ask and you shall receive. I mean, whatever you ask for, you will get that. I mean, if you ask for negativity, you will be around them. You understand? You never realize that questions will lead you. I have to ask myself, how do I look better than yesterday? Because that's the popular question. I mean, that's the best question that you can ask. I mean, it's a question that's really going to help you succeed. I realize that that's the real solution to everything. I realize it's a solution because no matter what happens, you're going to be somebody who can ask questions. And when you ask questions, you understand you can interview people, you can be on Oprah, I mean, you can be the next Oprah who's greater. I mean, you can be someone far greater than who you are today. Otherwise, no matter what, you can see it's cold, you have to understand, although I'm better than the coldness, I'm better than who I am today. I don't care about anything as long as I'm helping people to inspire much more people. Otherwise, that's what a leader does. Otherwise, I have to ask questions about what I have to say in each moment. Because each question is an idea. I mean, a statement is a question. You have to understand that when Jesus said, you follow me, I realize he was asking people to follow him. You understand? Because he said, I need you to follow me. I realize that's a question. I mean, when I say, I love you, I also question you there. You have to understand, I question you in a way to say, I love you. You understand? Because words are questions. I mean, every single sentence that you speak is a question. I mean, what you speak is what you become. I mean, when you ask better questions, you also communicate better. You have to relate questions with statements also. You have to understand that it's the same thing. You have to understand that every single word matters when you're doing it better. You have to understand every single question must make up something greater. You have to understand words are life, and what you speak out is what you ask. I mean, what you ask is what you live. I mean, what you live is your habits. I mean, where are your habits coming from? I mean, you are the 5 people you surround yourself with. I mean, you follow never the crowd, you never follow the crowd, you make sure you follow better than the crowd. You follow something greater than the crowd. I never follow the crowd, I do it for something greater. I mean, I ask, what would Jesus do today? I mean, every time I do something, I always ask, what would Jesus do in this moment? Because that way, I get the better answer. I realize that Jesus will never accumulate so much real estate. Because he would say that's worldly matters. I mean, why would he need to own 10,000 real estates? I mean, Jesus would go around the world teaching the Bible only. You understand? So, just be a person who's aware of that. You have to understand, to be more aware, you have to also ask more questions. And to ask more questions is to live longer. You have to understand, those people who ask questions are going to be more successful. You have to understand, you ask better questions though. You ask questions that are something that's going to help you to succeed. I mean, when I laugh with you, I never laugh at you. Because that's a better question. I mean, when I do this public speaking event, I do it because it's better than never doing it. I'd rather be here than anywhere else because there is nowhere else to be. I realize no matter what, that when something happens, it's going to happen now. I realize what's happening in 1 month's time is going to happen now. So the better question to ask is, how can I really be successful today and never compare myself? You have to understand, when you compare yourself, you do it with yourself and you never do it with other people. You have to understand, it's really about those people who are growing. I mean, those people who are growing are entrepreneurs. I realize those people who are doing nothing are watching TV. I realize you go pick your TV. You go do something to ask really something much more foundational where you can be more spiritual. You can really grow yourself. You can really live longer because you have to ask those questions. How can I live longer? How can I be a better person? How can I have a better attitude? I realize it's always how. I realize ask all your questions with that statement. How are you speaking like this? How are you on the street? How did you get yourself on the street, sir? You have to be nice. You have to be a person who can interview people. You have to be a person who can really do something in life that's really much better than yesterday. I mean, if you're a person who realizes no matter what, you have to realize something greater than yourself. You have to realize that awareness is everything. And those people who are ignorant have no awareness. I mean, you can be a better version of yourself. I am a better version of myself right now. I mean, I never have to go backwards because if I go backwards, I'll have to put on the weight that I did before. I used to weigh 130 kilos, I dropped it down to 67. You have to understand, I'm very successful. You have to understand, because I dropped it in life, in terms of life where I'm growing only, I'm never dropping myself. I only make sure that I become a vegan much more than yesterday. You understand? Because I ask better questions on how can I do so? I mean, how can I become more of a vegan? I realized that's how I lost the weight, because I asked the questions to lose weight. I asked the questions to be here. I asked the questions to make sure that I can communicate this way and as fast as I can. Because each and every time, it's really about how much are you speaking and how can you do it better. You have to understand, questions will get you there, although those ones that are really foundational are the ones who are doing better. You have to understand that those people who have something to say will say it now and will preach it and will make sure no matter what that you're always doing better. I realize no matter what, I'm always a person who's going into my journal. I'm going into my journal, I'm writing more, I'm asking more questions, such as, how can I be a millionaire today? I realize I make sure to list 20 reasons on how I can be a millionaire today. I realize one of them is right here. You understand? I'm in front of a crowd and getting attention. I realize that's one way. You understand? I mean, go and do that. I mean, that's more than enough. I mean, as long as you have the skills and ability to make sure you can be in front of a crowd, you can do anything. I mean, you can make sure to inspire first. I mean, be inspiring, because that's one way to be a millionaire. I realize that's one way to be a millionaire. You have to understand, to be somebody who can really succeed is to ask something that where you can really make sure you're always inside. I mean, it's about being inside in a manner where you're relating to life in a way that you understand that each question is a communication signal. And those people who can communicate have more of it. I mean, they have more communication in their life. I mean, they have more people in their life, because you have to understand that more people means more attention. I mean, you have to understand that more love means more grace. You have to understand the more love you give, the more grace you have. You have to understand the more blessings you have, I mean, the more you communicate. Otherwise, the more you communicate, the more blessings you have. You have to understand, those people who are kinder are the ones who are spreading positivity and realizing that's the way to go. Otherwise, those are the people who can realize that no matter what happens, just be somebody who can really look inside, because that way you will find the questions you need. You'll never find them in other people. I mean, nobody can ask questions for you, and nobody can do anything for you. You're the only person that can do anything. I mean, I have to show up every day to do 3 hours of I have to show up every single day to do 3 hours of video content. I have to ask myself questions on how to do so. I have to ask myself questions on how can I have a better schedule than yesterday, because that's going to improve me. I have to ask improving questions. I have to ask questions that are going to help me to really succeed. I have to ask questions that are going to relate to my story. How can I get my story out there? How can I do it more faster? How can I be a more effective person? How can I realize to read faster? I realize I read at 3.5 times faster than the average human. You would understand why, because each and every time you read faster, you comprehend faster and you live a better way. You have to understand, the people that can sum up more knowledge in life are the ones who are happier. You understand that is why you ask more questions. Because the more questions you ask, the more wisdom you have. You have to understand, wisdom is life, and wisdom is satisfying. And those who can accumulate more of it can teach more of it. You have to teach it, because that's the only way to accumulate more wisdom. I mean, you teach everything. You have to see Jesus, for example. You have to see that he taught everything. You have to understand, he teaches, because he is the teaching. You understand? Because when you're teaching, you live it. I mean, you live your preach. You understand? You live something that's really interesting. You're living in a way that you're growing to life, you're growing and you're looking at what's happening. And that way you're always connecting the dots. You're making sure no matter what, you're being positive throughout, and you're making sure that when you get a dirty look from somebody, you're always someone much more. You're always making yourself a better person, because otherwise you understand you will be negative. I never need you to be negative. I need you to ask better questions than negativity. I never need you to ask, what is happening next week at the nightclub? I don't know what that is in life. I don't care there. I don't care what's happening there. You have to understand, I care about what's happening with Tony Robbins today. I mean, what's happening with John C. Maxwell today? I mean, what's happening with Jesus today? I mean, what's happening in the Bible today? I mean, that's the better question. I mean, I don't care what's on 7 p.m. tonight at Channel 7 News. I don't care, because over there I already understand it's going to be negative. You understand? So I stay away from negativity. I know nothing in life, and that's why I ask more questions. You understand that Socrates is a person who asks a lot of questions. I mean, that person asks more questions because he's a person who understands growth. I mean, those people who understand growth can live more and can talk more and they can connect the dots. I mean, they are the people who can realize there's someone far greater than everything else. I mean, they can ask more. I mean, they can be more than. You have to ask. You have to ask in a way, you have to ask in a way that no matter what, you're always speaking your I intent and you're using the you in action, because the you in action will state, how are you today, in a way that you're doing better. How are you doing better today? How can you be better than good in life? What can you do today to make sure that you have better shoes? You have to understand, you need to be better. I mean, why are you walking naked on the street? And how are you going to better yourself? I mean, you have to understand that when you're walking naked, you have to realize you're inside only. You have to understand that a person who is naked is beautiful. You understand? I mean, I have no shame about being naked. Although you have to understand that those people who can speak can also live it better. You have to understand that no matter what, you never be negative about nakedness, because here I am. You understand? I'm naked too. You have to understand, I'm naked on the street. Why am I naked on the street? Because you can see me, I'm really inspiring. You can hear my communication. I promise you that's my exposability. I've exposed myself in a way that you can hear me. I mean, that's nakedness. I mean, nakedness has everything to do with communication. I mean, I never meant to take off your clothes. I meant nakedness in a way where you're speaking in intent to make sure that people are growing. Or else, no matter what, be a person who's never ashamed about anything that you're doing. You have to understand, to never be ashamed is to be a positive person. Or else you have to understand that those people who can do something far greater than what they're doing today, you have to understand, you need to also look inside yourself and ask yourself the question on how to do so. You have to understand that those people who can ask questions are the ones who are far greater than everybody else. I mean, just be somebody who can understand that no matter what, you have to continue the conversation in a way that you're asking much more broader questions. I mean, what's the broader questions? I mean, what is a broader question? I mean, the broader question is how to be broader in life. I mean, how do I be broader? I mean, how do I be a person who can encourage others to make sure they look better and feel better? I mean, how do I make sure that whatever I have inside can feel better so that I can become something greater? I mean, that's a better question. I mean, if you're a person who's never reading right now, I mean, what are you doing? I mean, why are you just waiting here? I mean, why are you just standing still? I'm reading the crowd here. I'm reading myself as I speak along, and I'm doing something far greater than I was yesterday. I realize that it's my second day doing this, although you understand that each and every time I do this, I ask a better question. I mean, each and every time you do something greater than yesterday, you understand that you gain much more in intent, and you understand that the crowd will be lifted when you lift up the crowd. You need to lift up because that's your only motivation in life now. You need to do something about it. You need to go and make sure you can be on TV in a way where you're lifting. I mean, YouTube is TV. You can be on YouTube. You can have your own YouTube channel. You have your own Instagram. You make sure you do something inspirational. I mean, when you check out my Danny Milivojevic Instagram, you'll see 4,000 model shoots of me. You have to understand, you need to go and do it also. You need to go be a model. You need to be something greater. You need to realize you look like a better person. You understand? You look like a better person today. You need to do something far greater. You need to do something really intentful that's really going to be kind, because that's a kinder question. I mean, ask kinder questions. Ask abundance questions. I mean, ask richness questions. I mean, those people who are really, let's say, foundational in what they're doing are able to state what they need and question everything. I mean, question what I say. I mean, never believe the whole story, because the whole story is something greater. You have to understand, you believe something greater only. You have to understand, you question your friends and your mother and your dad. You understand? Because guess what? I promise you, you question everyone. I promise you, you question Jesus too. You understand? Because questioning everything is going to grow you. I promise you, you be conditioned by your parents to live a certain way. I promise you, those are your limiting beliefs. I promise you that you need to change them right now. I promise you, everything that you are today, you need to change it now. You need to change your whole being. You need to change who you are, because that way you'll be a new person. I mean, you'll be reborn again. I mean, you'll be somebody more greater than yesterday. I realize no matter what, each and every time I public speak, I have to ask myself new questions on how to do so. I have to ask myself in how can I really talk in a different manner all the time. I I talk about the same thing over and over again in a way where I'm helping people to succeed, although I'm making sure that I succeed first. I make sure that I'm growing myself in a way where I'm never looking to see I'm never looking to see what the outside world needs. I'm looking to see what I need first. Otherwise, that's a better question. Otherwise, the question is, ask yourself what you need first, and then help others once you achieve it. You understand that those people who can achieve more are the people that can achieve greatness. I realize that greatness is more. I realize that when you're foundational and you have more, you have everything. I realize make sure that you have more in life, because that way you'll be greatness. You have to understand, those people who can realize and suss out that questioning is the best way to live life, I realize that way you understand that that is the way you can live better. You understand that no matter what happens, be a person who can really look inside for what you need, and that way you're going to teach yourself how to be in the crowd and how to do it much greater, because those people who understand what they are doing, they ask themselves what they are doing today that they are doing better. Or else they're asking themselves questions about what they are doing better. You have to understand, it's about correcting yourself in a better way. You need to be more positive. You have to understand to be happier. You have to understand to be a pleasant person. A pleasant person is a satisfying person that's growing only. A person that's growing is reading something more and more every day. You have to understand, knowledge is everything. Knowledge is your Niagara Falls. Those people who understand wisdom will understand that wisdom will pour into you and keep going. You have to understand, you need metaphors, you need something so amazing like abbreviations to ask better questions. You need to understand, better vocabulary skills means better questions. You have to understand that the better your vocabulary, the better your communication skills. You have to understand, those people who can communicate are the ones who are asking better questions. Otherwise, when you're a positive person and you're doing something foundational in what you're doing, otherwise, no matter what, I'm always making sure to ask better questions. Otherwise, asking better questions is something very foundational. You have to understand life, you have to understand that much greater today than yesterday. You have to understand those positive people who are really covering themselves up are the ones who have to expose themselves. Because when you expose yourself, you can't be more than Jennifer Lopez. You can't be more than Kim Kardashian. You can't be more than Jesus. You understand? I promise you, when you ask better questions, that's the only way to do so. You understand that it's never about reality TV and what's going on TV. You have to ask yourself a better question about how can I educate myself to make sure that I grow. It's about growing. You understand? So you're growing in a way that you're looking better all the time, and you're showing yourself. You're showing yourself much greater than yesterday, and you're giving more attention. You never pay attention, you give attention. You invest in attention. You never pay the price, you invest the price. You're an investor. You're never the payer. You're never the consequence. You're the giver. You understand? You're the giver. I need you to be the surplus of life. I need you to be the person who is an A+. I need you to be the A++. I need you to understand that it's about being a person who's in the plus and never in the minus. I never need you to use other people's money. I need you to understand that it's about using yourself more than anything else. I need you to understand that when you use other people's money, you're giving people money more than they're giving you. I need you to understand that it's about giving more than receiving. You understand? I need you to understand that it's about never taking anything. Because those people who ask how to really have more grace in life will find it. Otherwise, those people who ask what's at the pub today, I don't know, they're going to go there and they're going to drink alcohol at 10 o'clock in the morning. Otherwise, they've got nothing to do, those people. You have to understand, you never do that. Otherwise, those people who go and look up to the happy hour and they drink alcohol in the happy hour because it's $1 cheaper. Otherwise, they're cheap people because they look at what's cheap. I need you to never ask the question, what's cheap in life? I never need you to be a cheap person. I never need you to ask what's expensive. I never need you to go broke that. I never need you to go broke that way. I never need you to be an expensive person either. I need you to be an affordable person. I need you to ask better questions. I need you to realize that those people who are affordable can really live the life. I understand it's never about being expensive. It's never about expensive cars. You have to understand, to have a Ferrari life, to have a Ferrari in life, you can have one today for under $1,000. You rent one. You just go rent one. You rent one for the day, I promise you have a new experience. I promise you it's worth it. You just go drive a Ferrari everywhere. You understand? You rent it for as long as you need. You understand? You rent it for 1 hour. I promise you can. You have a nice experience. You go rent whatever you need. You have to understand, you just rent vehicles, you rent a jet. I mean, if you need a private jet, you never buy it, because otherwise it's 20 million bucks. You rent one for 1 year, you may get one for $1 million. You understand? You understand, no matter what, be a person who's smarter than yesterday. You understand that. You just make sure to save your money, because guess what? You never save the money you work for, you give more of it. You understand? You give more of it. You're never saving, you're only giving. You're never saving anything, you're just giving more of life. You're never saving your life, you're giving your life. You understand? You have to give your life, because that's the way to live life. I promise you, the way to live life is to ask more questions that can help you to do so. Otherwise, those people who can really, let's say, be foundational and make sure no matter what, you're looking at the crowd also. You can look at the crowd, you can look at your video here, you can no matter what, you understand no matter what, just be a person, be a person who is never perverted, because you understand that perversion has nothing to do with growing you. You understand that those people who are watching more pornography today, I promise you, you're holding yourself back. I never need you to watch pornography, because Jesus would never ever watch pornography. I need you to understand that. You have to understand, when you're a person who's really motivated, you're going to be a positive person, and that way you're staying away from the pornography, because you understand that will never help you. You need to understand to really, you have to understand to really let go and let God, and let's work together to understand that there's something greater in life, and be that greater person today. Just be that greater person. You have to understand, be that person who can really succeed in a way where you're showing yourself in a way that you're a much better person than yesterday, because that's the better question. The better question is how to look better, and how do I help this kind lady over here? How can I have a conversation with the next person next to me right now? Why do I have to stand around for? Why can you have to understand, you have to ask yourself, how can I communicate more with people next to me? You can do anything. I make sure no matter what that you understand, that you never use the word I cannot. I need you to understand, I can do anything. You never say you cannot do anything. You can always ask yourself a question that's really much better than yesterday. You understand that those people who are living a much greater life are doing so. You have to understand, those people who have something to say will say it much better. It's not about saying it. You have to understand, it's about living it better. You have to understand, it's about saying it in a way that it's going to help. I realize that when you're saying something, you have to help with that. I realize when you're just mumbling and you're not doing anything, I realize that when you're not helping with your words, I realize you're wasting people's time. You have to give time to make time. You have to give your time first. You have to give what you have, and that way you will receive more. What you give is what you gain. What you sow is what you reap. You have to understand that those people who are positive in the way that no matter what happens, they have a terminology which is called this moment. I promise you that terminology is an abbreviation to live in the moment, and you're never negative about abbreviations. You understand that you're never negative at all. You never be negative, because I'm a positive person. I'm only a positive person only. You understand that a term where you can use and a comma, I promise you, where you can use a comma or abbreviation or emphasis, you only state positivity like this. You only use abbreviations for positivity, you never talk about negativity. You have to understand, you talk about life itself. You have to understand, life is where you have to be. You have to be in terms of contradiction in a way that you're living in a better way. You have to understand, a better way is positivity anyway. You talk about negativity in a way on how you can solve it only. You understand? Because that's the way of life. You have to understand, those people who can really live life can really breathe it. You give life, you breathe life, you are life. You are life because you can give it. You give life, and that way you will have more of it. You have to understand, no matter what, be a person who's really positive. That way you can understand to intrigue people with the way you speak. You're intriguing people in a way where people are gaining your ideas, and guess what? You guys are all growing because I'm giving you ideas. That's a nice positive statement. You get around positive people who can speak like me and much better. You understand that those people who are more successful are the ones who can speak better because they ask better questions. The more successful people who are more successful are asking better questions, and that's why they're more successful. You understand that no matter what, you just make sure that you can rhyme in your words, and you make sure that you can make some poetry in your words. Literature is poetry, and the more literature you have, the smarter you are. The smarter you are, the more smarter questions you ask. You have to understand it's about smarter questions. You have to understand it's around being right now. You have to understand it's about being a positive person, because positive people will get you there. You understand? Because those people who watch something for nothing, I realize those people are going to get there. I realize where are they really going and where are they getting at. I realize it's really that they're getting into a better way. I realize it's really that they are understanding life itself. I realize that you have to comprehend more. So to understand how to comprehend, you have to understand to ask yourself, how can I comprehend in a much faster, efficient and effective way that is a much better way? Do you understand? Because a better way is a better question. I realize the better questions will get you there, and the grass is greener when you ask a better question, because those people who connect better are the ones asking on how to do so. I realize it's never about other people solving your problems. I realize it's about you solving your own problems. I solve my own problems here. I solve my own problems here because no matter what happens, I'm always doing something incredible. I'm always doing something in a way where no matter what happens, I'm always positive about it. I'm always positive with my questions. I'm never negative. I always make sure I can tune out the negativity because I ask myself how to do so. I mean, I ask myself, how can I tune out the negativity more and more in my daily life? And I discipline myself to stay away from it. I mean, I make sure no matter what, that you understand that those people who can do it in this moment because those people are worth it. And then I realize, and you realize that it's never about, and then, you have to understand, it's around this time and now. I realize it's around this time and this moment in the now about how you can realize that then you can speak better, you can do better, you can understand that communication is key, and when you're not asking questions, you're not learning. You need to ask better questions. You need to do something better than you are. You have to be better than you are. You have to do something really quickly. You have to understand it's really about something really foundational about how are you spreading the word. I mean, what is your word today? I mean, what your word is, I realize that what your word is how your habits are. I mean, how do you better your habits? You have to ask yourself those questions, and you have to find the people who can help you to do so. You have to ask yourself the question on how can I look better and how can I feel better today. I realize it's about more energy. So the better you can ask yourself more questions, I realize you'll be more successful. I promise you. You have to ask yourself a question and write it down. Because without writing it down, you'll understand you're never helping anybody. You need to write it down, because here I am recording this video right now. No matter what, I record when I speak, because guess what? I'll help someone with it. I'll help someone to realize, no matter what, that I will be better than everything in this life. Because guess what? I'm now better than everything in this life. I realize it's about positive affirmations, and to ask better questions is to have positive affirmations. You have to understand, to ask questions, you only ask the positive questions. I need to ask positive questions that are going to help you only. I mean, there's only 1% of the questions that can ask. I realize there's only 1% of the questions that can help you ask a better question. I mean, ask yourself, how can you today be inspired much more by people around you right now? I realize no matter what, you have to understand, you need to do something right now to succeed. What are you going to do right now so you can help yourself? Otherwise, it's about helping yourself. So help yourself in something that is really greater than yesterday. I realize it's something that's really going to help you. I realize it's something that's motivating you. I realize it's something that's encouraging you. I realize it must be you. I realize it must be you that is that person who is encouraging you every day. I'm encouraging myself now. You have to understand that you need motivation. You need motivation. You can get it online. You can get it at YouTube. You'll understand. You can get many positive people who are really speaking their mind, and they're really speaking their heart in a way that they're positive about it, and they're speaking their tonalities and friction, which is only saying something better. You have to understand that friction has to do with something better. I mean, you relate positive words with all of the dictionary. I mean, every positive word in the dictionary is a positive word. I mean, when you look at the dictionary, you understand positive words. Because without positivity, there is no negativity. I promise you, no matter what, you understand that anything that's negative can be positive. I promise you that you understand that every single language in today's world is to be written down first. I promise you when you write it down first, you'll learn more. I promise you the more you can write, I promise you the more you can talk. I promise you the better you can talk. I promise you the better you can live life. I promise you the better you can do anything. I promise you the better you can inspire people. I promise you the better you can read and grow and be more courageous and make sure you can lose everything that is nothing, to make sure that you understand that you're never nothing, or that you're never a person who is lifting people down. You're a person who's really understanding that you're never lifting people down. You're lifting people up in a way that you make sure you're always inspiring people in a way that is always positive. I mean, never be a positive, be a positive person. Never be a negative person. I need you to understand to say, I'm not negative. I'm not a negative person. You have to repeat it to yourself. You have to understand that those people who are doing better are understanding that the way of life is this moment. You have to understand that anything that's negative is anything that's never lifting you. You have to understand that something that's never lifting you, you have to stay away from it. You have to understand, I learn so much in my communication because the more I can speak is the more I can make sure to stay away from caffeine and cigarettes and the drugs and the alcohol, because that's never going to improve your life and that's never going to help you live a longer life. You have to understand, no matter what, you be a positive person for your kids, for something greater only. You're never doing it for your kids, you're never doing it for anything else. You're doing it for something greater than your kids and you. I do this for something greater. You have to understand that something greater is always going to be more inspirational. You have to understand that you be inspired by something greater. You be inspired by something that can help you. You have to understand that in communication, you have to understand it's a level. You have to understand that it's really something that can really help you. You have to understand that communication is something that can help you to inspire your way of life. So make sure that is the question you ask. You ask that question because that question will get you where the grass is greener. The grass is greener to those who ask better questions. Those wealthier people who are really successful today ask better questions. They're the ones who can rap. They're the ones who can rap better than yesterday. When you rap in a way where you can motivate people. You motivate people to do something better because that's the way. I realize you rap in a positive way. You never rap in a negative way. You never rap to kill people. You never rap to cause drama. You can do rap in a positive way. You understand that no matter what, those people who write and do poetry today are rappers. I promise you, those people who can speak, such as I, right now, I'm rapping right now because I'm speaking. I'm living my talk. I promise you that life is a rap. I promise you that those people who can rap can live life. I need you to understand, you go be a person who can rhyme better. I promise you, you can make anything come true when you're asking yourself those questions. How can I make my life more true today? I realize it's about opening your wisdom. I realize it's never about anything that's causing violence. I never need you to cause violence in life. I need you to ask yourself, how can I never disturb other people? How can I never cause violence? I need you to understand, that's a better question. How can I prevent myself from getting sick? How can I make sure I stay away from jail? You have to understand, those people who can understand a question can understand life, because a question that's better than yesterday is a better person. I promise you, those people are leading the world. I promise you, those people are doing something greater than you today. I promise you, there are greater people in the world, although you have to be one. You have to say, I'm greater today. You have to repeat it to yourself right now. I'm greater today. I need you to understand that no matter what, I'm greater always, because I make people to say, I'm greater. Because when you never say it, you'll never be greater. You have to understand, I need you guys to repeat, I'm greater. I'm greater. I'm greater. Because those people who ask those questions are greater. I need you to understand, when you say, I'm greater, you're asking, I'm greater questions. You have to understand, you understand that those people who are greater questions are going to be something far more worthwhile. I realize that those people who can get on the street and talk, I realize that it's the most inspirational way to get there. Where is that? It's inside. A successful life is inside. And those people who look I've realized that those people who look inside are more focused on themselves than the outside world. I'm not focused on any of you people. I'm focused on myself and how can I grow right now. I realize I'm growing as I speak. I'm growing with my intent to lift people because I'm lifting myself first. I realize that when you lift people, you will be lifted. And that's the way of true life and grace in terms of positivity. You have to understand, be a positive person and listen to positivity all your life. I promise you it's worth it. You understand that those people who can understand something greater than themselves are the ones who are going to become that. You have to understand to ask yourself those questions, because those questions are how to ask questions. You have to understand, you have to understand that the way you can really live life is live it now, because life is freedom. You have to understand, life is freedom due to your fondness of who you are. You have to understand, your fondness is your intent to abbreviate anything. You're never negative, you're never spreading negativity, although you're emphasizing a positive way. You can emphasize positivity, you can emphasize negativity. You have to understand that it's really about your tonality and how are you really getting out into your life, because your life is inside, your life is never outside. You have to understand, your life is somewhere in terms of the grass is greener. I mean, you have to ask yourself something that's going to get you there. I mean, what is it? I mean, what are you interested in today? Because that is your passion, and go and do it in a street performance and get yourself a microphone and teach it. I promise you it's worth it. I promise you, as long as you understand that no matter what happens, you'll be a happier person. You understand? Because no matter what, a happier person is going to get you there. You have to understand, those people who are happier will teach you how to be happier. You have to understand, no matter what, you'll be a happier person today because that's more inspirational. I promise you, those people who are inspired are the ones who can speak. I promise you, they're the ones who are really driving with earphones on. I promise you, you're driving with earphones on and have something positive to read while you're driving. I promise you, you can drive with your earphones on, you can do something amazing, you can do something really incredible, you can realize that university is today, and a positive university is everything. I promise you, it's everything in life. So make sure you're a positive person who can study and do positive work in a way where you're cheering people on. I mean, you're a cheerleader of yourself in something greater in the most way, because that way you're asking yourself better questions. You're asking yourself something that's really going to help you succeed. You're asking yourself something that's really going to help you look better. I realize no matter what, I always ask myself something that I can really intend to do. I mean, what is it? I mean, today I make sure that I upload much more content in a better way, faster. I have to ask myself much better questions. So I make sure, how can I speak faster? I make sure, how can I make sure that I can look people in the eyes when I speak with them? I make sure that I always find out every single question in the book. I make sure I emulate it in a better way. Because a better way is something much more graceful. I promise you, it's much more inspiring when you have positive people around you lifting you up. I promise you, no matter what, you be that person for yourself in something greater. You be something greater than yourself today. Because that's personal development. I promise you, personal development books will get you there. I promise you, positivity and spirituality will get you there. I promise you, no matter what, you read everything that you can. Because Brian Tracy says, read everything you can in 1% of every single topic in every single area. Because every single area of life, you must be able to study it 1% of the time. You have to understand, you study everything in life 1% of the time. Because you understand that you need to be a person who never knows it all. You never be a person who knows it. You never be a person who knows it. You be a person who says, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about what I said today, although I'm growing. I'm still growing, I'm still positive, because when I know it all, I never grow. I just say, I don't know. I don't know anything. Because that way I understand I leave room for improvement, because that way when I don't know, I'll find out. I mean, when you know it, you never learn about it. You have to understand, you be a person who says, I don't know it all. I don't know anything. I only learn 1% of every subject. You understand? Because every subject will get you there when you're learning. You have to understand, you're learning something, I mean, be interested, and that's passionate. You have to be a passionate person who's really asking yourself those questions, where you can realize that way you understand you be a nice, beautiful person who can be clean in a way that you're understanding life is to be in freedom. You be freedom, you be a nice, beautiful person in a way where you're never limiting yourself, you're never limiting yourself in what you're doing, you're being a nice person every time. Because nicer, I promise you, the nicer you are, I promise you, the nicer you're going to become. Because that's the way of life. You need to ask nicer questions. You need to be nicer with your words. You need to be nicer with who you are. You have to grow your intent, because your intent is your life in something greater. You have to understand, you never look at other people, you look at what is up there in terms of something greater than yourself. Because that is a positive person. You understand? Because no matter what, those people who understand life are asking those questions. I mean, you understand life greater than you are. You understand? I mean, go with that. Because you have to understand there's something greater than you, and you can do something greater, which is your legacy, and you leave it behind in something greater. I mean, you just do that all your life. You just do that for goodness sake and something better. You have to understand that goodness sake means for the goodness of life. You have to understand, you be a positive person. You just do it every single day. You do it every single day, because those people who can understand the alphabet and what they're doing in terms of life are going to understand life. You have to understand life greater than before. You have to understand that no matter what, your friends are going to leave you in 10 years, and you have to understand you have to be positive about it. You have to understand that those people you are with now, I promise you in 10 years' time, I promise you that you'll be a positive person anyway once they leave. You have to understand that people are going to go their own ways, and you have to be better than your peers, because guess what? It's never about competing with people. I promise you it's about competing with yourself only. I promise you it's about bettering yourself in a way where you can grow and you can get started today, right now, for free, to do your business, and you can give it for free. I mean, to give life for free is to give everything for free. You give everything for free, and you will have a free life. I mean, a freedom lifestyle is doing your work for free. I mean, when you're doing it for free, you have no money blockages. And I promise you, people who have money blockages are the ones who are charging for their work. I promise you that Jesus never charged for his work. Why would you? You have to understand, you go and do Jesus' work because Jesus' work is the best work. You understand that those people who understand Jesus will understand something greater. You understand no matter what, you go and understand something greater anyway because you understand that Jesus did also. You have to understand that no matter what, be a person who's speaking something really intentful in a way that you're understanding that it's really about positive knowledge and how you're going to be more positive today, sir. You have to understand, be a person who's a baby. I'm a baby today. You understand? No matter what happens, I'm always doing something that's positive. I'm positive. I'm positive. I'm positive. You have to understand, repetition is key. I mean, link positivity with the sun, please. And every time you look at the sun, you understand that today you must be positive. You understand? I mean, when the sun comes up, you see positivity in life. I mean, as long as there's daytime, you can understand you link positivity with daytime. I mean, now it's your time to be positive. I mean, when it's nighttime, you link nighttime with positivity. I promise you, it's your time to be positive. You understand? I mean, you link the whole day and all the times in life. I mean, you link all the numbers with positivity. And each time you see those numbers, you'll read those positive informations, which is a positive affirmation. And you'll be positive because you see those words and numbers. I mean, words and numbers rule the world. I mean, you have to understand, the better your numbers, I mean, the better your communication skills. You have to understand, those people who can communicate better, can speak better, and also can do anything better. You have to understand, they can ask better questions, I promise you they can look better, I promise you they can feel better, I promise you they can inspire better, I promise you they can do anything better, I promise you they can really live better, I promise you they can understand better, I promise you they can comprehend better, I promise you they can do more better, I can do anything. You have to understand, it's all about I. You understand? Because I will get you there. I is everything. I have a dream. I have a dream. You understand? I need you to speak I love you more. I is everything. I love I more than anything. I love I because that's where you respect yourself. You respect yourself in life. You respect yourself because nobody else will. You understand? Because you are the fountain of life. You understand? Because no matter what, be that person who's really lifting people because that way you ask better questions. You need to understand that those people who understand that they get cold, I promise you when you get cold, you say, I'm not cold. I'm not cold. You understand? I promise you, you be warmer in life. You be warmer in a way where you understand you get tender because tender is warmness. And when you're warmness in life, you're also a person who has an emotional ability. You have to understand, emotional ability stands by the point of questions. And when you have better questions, you understand you're asking those questions in a way where you're living life in a better way, because that way you understand there's nothing to fear when you're here. You understand? Because when you're here, you can do something greater. You can understand that you never have to cook. I never have to cook because I understand that my meals are made within 1 minute. I never have to cook. I never have to boil my food. I never have to refrigerate my food because I'm a vegan. You understand that veganism will always make sure that you have much more energy and development in your life. I mean, you can be reading at any time. You can be a positive, you can reflect other people in a way that's better. You have to understand that questions will get you there. I mean, questions is life. I mean, when you see the daytime today, ask a question. You understand? Because no matter what happens, you have to ask yourself more better questions and never perverse questions. I mean, never ask yourself a perverse question. I mean, ask yourself something beautiful. I mean, ask yourself something that's really worth it. I mean, be a positive scenario in life. I mean, have a positive circumstance and have a positive scenario where you can really lift people. I mean, those people who are lifting people are living in reality. I promise you they're people who have ideas. I promise you they're the people who can really live life. I promise you they're the people who understand communication skills. I promise you they're the people who understand a better life because that's the way to go. I mean, that's the way to go. I mean, that's the way to go. You have to understand, I love you. I love I. I love all of you because guess what? You are something greater. I mean, you are something greater than the person you are because I'm greater. You understand? Because that is encouragement. You need to be greater because I love you. I love all of you. You have to understand, when you give love, you get love. You understand? Because love is everything. I mean, love is to be cherished. And those people who give positive love is ideas. I promise you, they're ideas. I promise you, those people who have ideas and have more of it have wisdom. You need knowledge because knowledge is the fountain of everything in life. I promise you, it's God's grace in life. You need that in life. You need something better. You need better than God. You need something better. You understand? I promise you that God was always looking up there. You have to understand, when you speak God, I promise you that you speak something greater. You understand? You speak in a greater intent because something greater will get you there. I mean, what is it? I mean, it's you. I mean, you are going to help your life now to succeed. You're going to help your life to do something greater because you're worth it. I mean, I can help you succeed. You have to understand, I give you ideas, you apply them, you make sure you're a thumbs up, you make sure no matter what, you're a thumbs up, and that way we can understand you're a thumbs up. You understand? You have 3 thumbs up every single day, and that way you're number 1 in life. You're number 1 because guess what? You only believe in yourself the most. You have to understand, you never believe in any other number except for number 1. I promise you, number 1 is the best number. I promise you, without number 1, there is no number 2. I promise you, there's no other numbers without number 1. I promise you, number 1 must be you. You understand? I'm number 1 in my life because when I'm number 1, I'm doing something greater. You understand? Because I link it to something greater. I never put myself number 2 in life. I never have to be number 2. I never live for other people, I live for something greater. I understand that no matter what, I have to ask better questions because it's about fueling my intent to grow. I have to ask myself growing questions. I have to speak my I realize that I have a dream. I have a dream. No matter what, you have a dream. You have to understand you have to achieve it. You can only achieve it by being positive. I mean, it's a daytime today. I realize no matter what, that it's always daytime in my heart. I realize it's always nighttime in my heart. I realize that without the day, you have no night. You have to understand you have to be positive anyway. You have to understand that you link everything in life to positivity. You have to understand, when you link it to positivity, you'll go where positive is. You have to understand that you link negativity with positivity. You understand that the positive lifestyle is better. You have to understand it's positivity over negativity. I mean, go where positive people are. I promise you those people will lift you. I promise you that negative people will only waste your time. I promise you you're worth it, you deserve it. You have to live up to 100. You have to understand that no matter what, you make that your goal. You make your goal to become a vegan. You make your goal much more worthy because guess what? You've been conditioned to eat meat. You've been conditioned. I've been conditioned to eat meat before as well. I ate meat for 26 years. I now turned vegan. I realized that no matter what, I have more energy now. I feel better. I feel greater. I save more money. You have to realize that when you're working for money, you're working for nothing. You have to realize you never work for money. You work for freedom because that's greater. I'd rather work for freedom than money. You have to understand that those people ask, I realize that those people ask better questions will ask the questions of freedom. How can I have more freedom? I realize that the freedom will get you there. I realize that the free way is the best way. I mean, go and use free Wi-Fi rather than giving money for it. You understand? Because the freedom in that is going to help you to save more money. I mean, go find more ways and tools and ideas to increase your capability. I mean, your capability is your potential. And your potentiality is really something greater. I realize that no matter what, you make up your own words too. I mean, make sure you have your own scenarios and your own vibe. You have your own code. You have something greater. You do something greater.
Can you show me self-control?
I can. I can show you self-control, sir.
Hang on. Can you speak for 5 minutes without using your hands like you're on the theatre in the theatre?
I can look. I realise no matter what happens, I can always speak at any turn. I realise no matter what, I'm always inside the heart because the heart can speak.
Look, you're doing it.
I realise
you can't do it.
I'll show you something.
You have no self-control.
I'll show you that I have self-control.
There you go again. You're doing it
I realise
again.
no matter what, I have a teacher over here, sir.
You're not talking independently of your hands.
I can do anything. I'll do it right now. You have to understand.
Start
that
again. Start again.
I can do anything. I can do anything. So no matter what, I have been challenged by this sir right here. I understand that he's a baby right now because I'm a baby. I realize that we're all babies because guess what? When I have self-control, I cannot move my hand right now, although I can. I realize that it's a nice, beautiful technique to get more self-control. I realize that self-control and the ability to be self-control is never move your hand, Danny, because guess what? When you move your hand, you're lost. I realize I've lost nothing because I'll never move it. You understand? Because guess what? I remove all challenges. I make sure I solve the solution. I realize that when I do that, I can always do it because I go in the name of something greater. And something greater is asking questions because self-control has everything to do with asking greater questions. And those people who ask greater questions are able to self-control themselves. I realize I adapt quickly to other people who challenge me because no matter what, when I get challenged, I also teach it on camera. I realize that I post it online. I post it online for other people in something greater. I look up. You understand? Because guess what? I see it on the bus over here. I realize it says look up. I look up because there's something great up there. I realize that Jesus was looking up too. I realize that Jesus went to I realized he went into the desert of Sahara Desert. I realized that he was in the desert to what? I realized he was there to live a better life, to be I realized to be self-controlled and to ask himself better questions and to tempt himself. I realized Jesus went to tempt himself to say, I can do it. I can do anything. I realized that you understand that when you're a person who's self-controlled, you understand that no matter what, you be a person who can ask greater questions, and that way you can be self-controlled. You understand that those people who never ask a question will never live life. I promise you, those people who understand how to live life will understand that you go and really, really breathe into yourself, because that's the way to live life. I promise you, those people who can really overcome challenges, I overcome challenges easily. I do it right now. I have a teacher right here. I need you to understand, I'm a student. I do what's much better for me. I mean, when somebody says, you must control yourself for 5 minutes and never move your hand, I realize I'll do it because it's a self-control technique. I realize I get disciplined, I grow from it. I realize it's a nice, beautiful way for me to grow.
Only 5 minutes.
I realize it's only 5 minutes, and 5 minutes is a lifetime. I realize that 5 minutes is 100 years. I realize that 1 minute in this life is eternity. I realize 1 second is eternity. I realize this moment.
It's like a day, and a day is like 100 years.
I realize that a day is 100 years. I realize everything in this life is more than everything. You have to understand that you use other people's words and you're better than with it. You have to understand that's the way to ask better questions. You have to understand those people who can really live a life can support you, and you have to realize that you be a cheerleader for something greater. I mean, there's something greater than me. I realize there's something greater than you. I realize there's something greater than us in the world, and you have to believe in that. You have to believe in something greater, because then you'll become greater. I mean, then you'll understand that something in your life is going to improve when you're understanding that no matter what happens, I'll never ever move my hand, because that way I can't overcome my demons. Because my demons are disappearing because I have no problem.
It's trying to control you.
I realize that the demons are trying to control you. I realize that demons are your own thoughts, and your thoughts are not your thoughts. You have to overcome them. You have to understand, you be a positive person, you don't move. You don't move. You've got no chance to win unless you're winning. You have to win much more, so make sure you're always a person who's never losing. You be a winner. You never stay with the losers, you go with the winners, because winners ask better questions. You understand that no matter what, you never fail, you be a person who can succeed. You understand there's so many distractions around here, whether I focus inside. I focus on what I'm saying because I'm looking inside. I'm not looking at other people. I overcome my challenges, because guess what? If I look at other people, I lose. I realize to overcome my challenges, I get more self-control. I realize in order for me to ask better questions on how can I never move my hand, I realize it's really about looking inside and focusing on myself more. I can achieve it then. I can achieve. I realize when I look at other people though, I lose. I realize it's never about looking at other people. I realize it's about communicating in a way where you can understand you never move your arm, because guess what? You understand you go with the winners. You go with the eagles. You go with the wolves, because the wolves, you go the journey alone. I realize the sheep will get lost in the journey. I thank you
You're
very
an
much.
overcomer, brother.
I thank you very much. I thank you very much. I was challenged by this sir to never move my hand for 5 minutes while speaking. I realized no matter what, I overcome my challenges, because guess what? That is how to ask better questions. You understand no matter what, those people who understand a better life can always overcome their grace. I mean, you have to understand grace is something to overcome. You have to understand negativity is to overcome. I realize you need to overcome everything in life. You overcome every single word in the dictionary, because that way you have no adversity. I mean, I don't know what any word is. I don't know what negativity is. I don't know what positivity is. You have to understand that positivity is something that you can relate to something much greater. I just make up my own meanings, because other people are going to tell you what to do. You have to realize to never listen to them. You go and be your own boss in life, because that's how to ask better questions. You ask better questions by saying that you'll be your own boss and that you will never work for somebody else. I work for myself for something greater. I look up because there's something greater that I work for. I work for a better world inside of me, because inside of me is inside of I over me. You have to understand that those people who are understanding the grace of life can really understand what they are doing. You have to understand, you challenge yourself in every single moment of every single life, and in every single moment is your life. You have to understand, your life is this moment. Your life is everything to be recognized. You need to realize that no matter what happens, you be a positive person that really asks something foundational. You're really loving what you are doing. You're really loving, you're passionate. I realize you're loving, that you're passionate, because that way you're communicating in a way that you can ask better questions. I realize that better questions is more communication. I realize the better your communication skills, the better questions you ask. I realize how do you boost communication skills? I realize the best way is to go into books, and that way you will ask better questions, because how do you increase your questions in a greater way? you will read on how to increase your vocabulary and your synonyms, and you connect the dots. You connect word by word. You understand that you are the word, and your word is something greater. Your word is something up there. I mean, your word is something up here. So you have to understand, up here is something that I leave room for improvement so that I can increase my growth. I realize my growth experience is I have a dream. I have a dream. I am positive. I am not negative. I am a person who is positive because twinkle twinkle gets my because those people have an I. I promise you they're confident. I promise you those people understand the question because the question is I. I question myself all the time. I mean, how do I do better today than yesterday? I mean, am I negative right now? I mean, how do I make sure that I can do this right now? I mean, I make sure I have a better posture. I mean, I have to ask myself that question. I ask myself right now. I realize I'm making statements all the time. I'm asking myself questions. I can stand, I can do whatever. I realize it's all about living a better life. You have to understand, it's about living a better life because those people who live a better life can really do it. You need to do it because that's the way to ask a better question. You have to understand that better questions will always get you there. You have to understand great questions. You have to understand, you always self-reflect. I promise you that's the best question you can ever ask. How can I be more self-reflective? I mean, how can I be more self-aware? You're looking to yourself, you're never looking at other people. I mean, when you look at other people, you're looking at yourself more. I mean, that's self-love. You have to understand, those people who ask those questions are positive. You be positive in a way, you let go, you let God. You have to understand, God is something bigger. You have to understand, God is something greater than you. You have to understand, when you're greater than you'll understand what God is. Understand? You have to understand, you gotta be greater now. You be greater today, you realize you're worth it, you have the courage, you have the ability. I have no rain today, I don't care about the rain, I'm looking inside. I'm not looking at the outside world and how devastating it is. I don't care about the outside world, I'm looking inside. I have so much happiness inside. I never let the world affect me. I never let anything affect me in life. I look inside. I don't care, I can be in the rain, I can do anything. I have no rain in life. Otherwise when it rains, I have nothing to worry about. I have no rain in my heart. You understand? Because my heart's cheery. Otherwise my heart has the I have a dream. I say I love you. I will say no matter what that this has been my 1 hour speech on how to ask better questions. I also have a next episode which is how to lead with grace. I understand that no matter what you guys understand to be here for the next hour, I'll be giving you the nice beautiful tonality that I am here right now. You have to understand that you just be a person who's really positive. You be a positive person today because that way you go stick yourself into a positive way because a positive person will ask positive questions and that's the way to go. You ask a question in a way that can really satisfy you, that can really grow you, I realize that can really grow you and that way you understand you be someone really greater. You understand that no matter what, I now make sure that you guys understand that I can always keep going. I realize it's never about a finish. I realize that it's always beginning. I realize my life is always beginning. I realize I've got nothing to finish in life. I realize that my next topic is going to elaborate on something different. Although you guys stay tuned and make sure that you understand I'll be playing my music now. I'll be playing something in terms of that I made. I realize I gave $1,200 for this nice beautiful track that I'll be playing here. I composed it. I gave this woman, Leo Bar, some money. I realize that she sings very beautifully and I also now let you to it. I also hope that you guys have a great day because it's about I.